I'm sorry, I was mute this whole time. Welcome to another live show with Hanifa Nayela. I am Hanifa Nayela, and yeah, I'm gonna take it from the top because I was going, but I'm gonna allow you guys to come in the room while our guest is on her way. She'll be here shortly, but I wanted to make sure that I started on time and just to let you guys know that we are here. Um, and see how you guys are feeling today and how y'all are doing. I see Enya is in the house. She says peace to Hanifa and Lakeisha. Enya says thank you, Enya. You're always looking out. Yes, I am muted, and I just realized that I'm muted, so I appreciate that. Um, Today homeschooling today was utter chaos. Okay, utter chaos. But it's Friday, so I did not hold it against anyone, myself included. Um, so yeah, and yeah, today. The week was okay, but today was really, really chaotic, and I haven't taken my nap. I haven't rested, so I'm still getting there. So thank you for asking. All of you guys who are entering in, if you have not subscribed as yet, please make sure you do so at this time, and also hit the like button, share. If it's a conversation that you want others to be engaged in as well, please feel free to share. I see Erica is in the house, and I'm just doing my regular house duties before I bring my guest forward, and you guys can see her beautiful face. But yes, please make sure you hit the like button, and if you haven't subscribed as yet, please subscribe. Make sure you share it on your social media. This is going to be a very good and much needed conversation. This is her life. This is her story. It doesn't get any deeper than that, and I'm excited to have her here with us. So yes, without any further delay, I'm going to go ahead and bring my guest forward. We welcome Miss Lakeisha to the screen. Can you hear me now, sis?
I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Thank you for joining me. Thank you. Thank you for making time out of your schedule to come here and have this conversation with me. I am absolutely delighted and excited about it because I know what you do and how passionate you are about what you do. And I also know that this is just not just a passion, but it's also your life. So I appreciate that. So welcome, welcome, welcome to my little YouTube space.
Thank you.
Yes. Let me see. Yes, Enya. Let me do that right now. Thank you for the reminder, Enya. Um, I should put a discretion up just in case for those. Let me just put. Give me 1 minute. Um, okay. Maybe triggering. Please view. Okay, I forgot to type this up because I should have. And I thought of it and I completely it got away from me. At your discretion. Not gonna put anything too fancy. So okay, give me 1 minute. I'm going to okay. It's a warning. Please be at your discretion. Okay, that's what I wanted to put. All right, so I'm going to leave this up on the screen. For those of you guys, let me just do this real quick, Lakeisha. For those of you guys who are new here, don't forget to subscribe, share, like. Also, you can follow me. You'll see it at the bottom at the real Hanifa Nayela on Instagram And if you are feeling, I don't know, what do you call it? I swear my mind is all over today. Generous. If you're feeling generous, because people usually ask about donations, my Cash App is also at the bottom. Feel free. No pressure. And so without further delay, let's get into this. Hey Lakeisha. Oh, are you
Hey,
frozen?
hey,
You
yes,
froze.
I'm here.
Okay, all right. Dawn, I see you. She says, hi, Hanifa. Got my notifications. Greeting to you and your guest. Thank you, Dawn, for passing through. Lakeisha, I don't know if you're frozen or okay, I got you. Okay. So welcome. Lakeisha, can you just tell us, the guest and I, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself and why this
Okay,
topic is very dear to your heart?
okay. Well, just to start off, my name is Lakeisha Davis. Most people call me Keisha. I'm from the Northwest Shore area of DC, born and raised there, born at Howard University. So I'm a true Washingtonian. Um, I was sodomized, and I like to not just be discreet. And I'm glad that you put the warning up for triggers, because if people are triggered, um, that too is a sign that healing still needs to be a part of the process. So I hope everyone gets something from my story. But at 5 years old, I was sodomized by a adult cousin, and um, I, for years, could not figure out why I behaved or acted out in certain ways when I knew I was a good person. My dad raised me in church, and my dad was a single father, so my mom wasn't in my life. And it was his nephew that committed the crime, and he did go to jail. He did pay for his time, and ultimately was raped in jail and died from AIDS himself. So, vengeance is the Lord's, I do know that. But throughout my life, I was very angry before he died, before I knew where he was. And I battled in relationships. I had so many dysfunctional relationships because of untreated sexual abuse. And I never knew that I had a issue or conditions, because you're taught to be strong when you go through any traumatic experience. You're taught to just keep going. So I never paid attention to the trauma. I just kept going until my trauma caught back up with me. And when it caught up with me, it was damaging, not to me, but to others. And I would say damaging to me, but not so much so that I would do things that directly harm myself. I guess in the relationships I would, but when people dealt with me, because of the unstable emotions, I was able to penetrate or hurt people in a way that I didn't even know I was capable of doing until I started doing research on sexual abuse. So now, just to answer your question, my passion is to help others not just raise their hand and say, hey, it happened to me too, but now get the education behind the behaviors, the impulses, the feelings, the, unexplained thoughts, ruminating thoughts. Some people, what is that? What is a ruminating thought? Thoughts that roam around your head that don't mean good, that ultimately destroys your brain cells. So, that's why I'm passionate about sexual abuse, my sister. Or you frozen, I think. But I do want to say this. I'm passionate about being an educator of sexual abuse and sex, period, because some people are miseducated about sex, period.
Okay, my apologies. The little one is at the was at the door. Okay, so um one of the things that stood out just now for me, there's a couple of things, but you said that you were violated at the age of 5, but you also said that you were in the care of a dad who was a single father. Am I correct? Okay.
Correct.
So there's a lot of conversations around um I'm hearing an echo. there's a lot of conversation around our children are being molested because there are no men in the house, right? And which I think there's some truth to that. So can you take us through how that was able to happen? And you were daddy's girl, like you were being cared for by your father who was a single parent. Can you take us through that?
Yes. So when my mother left, my dad had to take on the responsibility of raising a little girl, something he's never did. He's never had a child before. So to have a 5-year-old and to have my mother in my life up until that point, he needed help from his nieces who had children my age. They were in their 20s. So their brother raped me when my dad went to them for assistance and help. Hey, can you watch Lakeisha? I'll drop off money. I'll drop off food. I'll do this, And it was the summer. It was actually July, August. So it was the summertime. So, he thought that everything was good. And, he also had a niece that he trusted and was raised in his home that was there with me as well. So he trusted 3 females with me, not thinking that his nephew would have access to do that to me. But from my understanding, they hid it from my father and they made excuses to why or where I was when he would call or he'll drop by in the middle of the night. He worked, like he said, 24 hours sometimes. So he worked at a fruit stand right by the Ibex. And he said, Lakeisha, them Jewish people ain't trust me with nobody. I mean, didn't trust nobody else but me with their money. So he was running the store, the fruit stand, and he loved to work. He loved, to make his money. So come to find out, it's still some pieces missing to the puzzle, but come to find out from the police report I received, I was raped for 4 to 5 weeks. So it wasn't a random act like, oh, it happened once, an isolated event. I actually was being fed to this monster,
Okay. So this was a relative of your dad, and he entrusted the woman that lived in the same house with you because he needed someone to watch you while he worked so that he can feed you, right? And care for you. Okay. So
it wasn't it was their house. It wasn't my house.
Right. It was their house. You were going to their house and to okay. And so do you know if maybe they were aware that he had some stuff? Maybe somebody else in the home may have experienced what you went through and no one just said anything? Because I know a big part of this and why this continue in our families is this thing called secrecy. No one is talking about or addressing the elephant in the room. And so other people are being injured because the secret is everyone is so focused on hiding the secret. Was that the situation? Was someone aware that this guy is this type of person?
So from what I was told, but what I know is that on the night that I was raped, he was like eager to run out the door, and his sister looked at him and smacked him in his face like she knew that he had did something. And that part of the story I got as an adult, but I do remember them putting me in a bathtub to like bathe me. I do know, and I did remember that myself. You know what I'm saying? I remember a lot of details about that night, actually, where some people forget. My mind remembers every single thing. So, with that, their children were raped by the same monster. And the thing about it is, his sisters knew, but they were partying, they were young. They had children young. They would leave their children with him as well. So the night I was raped, they were out partying. So we were left with the monster. I was just a new victim. He was raping his nephews and his nieces. So I was just new.
Okay. So that's what I was wondering because a part of why I wanted to do this particular topic too is because And we're about to get in. You mentioned like behaviors, like certain behaviors that you couldn't really connect the dots until you realize that this is what it's rooted in. So the reason, a big part of why I wanted to discuss this, excuse me. I apologize. I apologize. Things are a little bit chaotic over here right now. Anyway, so one of the things that I do realize is that in the community we have a lot of behaviors, right, that are connected to sexual abuse, but everyone talks around it. And I get it, it's a very sensitive topic. It's hard to discuss it because there's a lot of triggers, because a lot of us in the community haven't dealt with our own abuse. And so it's difficult to hear someone talk about theirs or try to help someone. But the reason why I wanted to tackle it today is because there's a lot of like conversations around like gender wars between black men and black women. And it just keeps coming up in my mind that I think a big part of what we're not discussing that's creating the distrust between the men and the woman is the sexual abuse component, right? We talk about the domestic violence, we talk, and all of that is good, but no one wants to touch the sexual abuse, and I get it, right? So what I want to find out is, how did you get to the place where your dad found out? Was someone in the family able to say it to him, or were you the one able to go and say it?
My dad told me that Child Protective Services called him at work.
So they were doing an investigation. Oh.
Because what happened was that, and this is sad, but my cousin gave me gonorrhea, so they left it untreated. So because it was untreated, it caused an infection, which caused a smell, which caused them to take me to Children's Hospital. And when Children's Hospital saw and examined me, they knew I was raped, and that's how my dad found out.
Okay, I got you. I got you. All right. So can we talk about, you mentioned some of the behaviors, right?
Mm-hmm.
That you saw within yourself, but you couldn't make the connection. Like, around what time did you start to exhibit these behaviors? And exactly what type of behaviors are we talking about?
I'll give you lust and anger. I'll give you those two. And I'll break it down for you like this. I remember being in kindergarten, and I remember understanding that what my hormones being in a rage feel like, because now my body was used to sex. It was used to intimacy. So I would allow this little boy to like put his hand under my butt, like let him touch my butt in library class. Like every time we went to library, like he knew to sit next to me. You know what I mean? And I used to dance, in the mirror by myself as a child. Like I used to see strippers dance, and I was doing that a long time ago. But I would do it and just look at me. Um, I never been into women. I never liked women or anything, but I've always been into me. So, I would do things, and just be there with me. So I noticed that was, impulsive behavior. I anger wise, um I try not to get angry, or I'm not easily angered. Like it's nothing anyone can do that will make me just go off the handle right away, or just go off. Like I just don't move in that direction. However, like if people keep poking at me, I know this because of my sexual abuse. I feel like it's a quote unquote. I'm not saying this literally, but figuratively a monster that comes out, and it will destroy anybody that bothers me. You see what I'm saying? Like, as long as you don't bother me, we good. But the anger I've noticed, and like I've had uh ex-boyfriends who had girlfriends like was after them, or and then they tried to come for me, and it's like cryptic, the way I handle it, because I'm so calm and smooth. Like, you sister, you don't want none of this. Like, I'm dangerous. Like, I know that I can be, and that's because of the sexual abuse, but I just don't like to give into that. And I know everyone that's a part of my movement, Stop Stealing Our Souls, from police officers to psychologists, just the regular people, battle with that same anger. Like, please don't bother me. I'm just here to help. But once you bother them to a point, you in trouble now, because we feel vulnerable when it's almost like you're trying to take advantage of us and rape us again, and we make a conscious decision and vow. Some of us, because some people are really still like stuck in shelter, like they're scared of things and people. But those of us that says, oh no, I'm gonna take a stand, nobody hurt me like that again. We have to be careful with our anger.
So you said, okay, so it's the sex piece and the anger piece. Would you say, like, what did the teenage years look like? Were you already getting help with dealing with the trauma by that point? Then what did your teenage years look like then? Because that is a very peculiar time of our lives, right? There's a lot going on in our bodies, mentally, just in the, just how to navigate the world and so forth. What did adolescence look like?
So for me, I'm a church girl. So, like I said, my dad put me in church because he didn't send me to therapy. So that's the catch-22. That's that
Mm-hmm.
good girl, that good angel, and then the side that just started getting therapy 20 years after my assault, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, um, for me, oh my goodness, I wanted to say something, and that's another thing. When you have PTSD, sometimes you have to, the thoughts might just leave you really quick. You have to try to get a keyword to try to bring it back. It was
Uh-huh.
something I was somewhere I was going with this. Um, mm, 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 mm. mm. It was somewhere I was going with it. My teenage years. So I would have boyfriends, but I would make them pray with me, even though I would fornicate.
Mm-hmm.
I would make them get on their knees and pray with me. And that was cryptic to them. I was
Wait,
and
you're
I was
going in and
bad.
out, sis. You're
Can you hear
going in
me?
and out. Yes, now I can. Go
How
ahead.
about now?
Yeah, I can. And your picture is frozen, but I can hear you.
Oh yeah, so I just basically
Oh,
was saying
oh,
that,
no, I can't
you
hear
know,
you. I
oh,
can't hear you that well. Something is going on with the microphone.
oh, I don't know.
Try
I don't
again.
know.
Okay, I can hear
How
you
about now?
now. Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just saying, in my teenage years, I had boyfriends, and I would feel bad for, engaging in fornication, but I would also make them pray with me. And I felt like that was cryptic for them to for me to act that, but they understand that my heart was with God and my body was somewhere else, like it was used to something, and it's just different worlds for me. And that's what I battled with in my teenage years. My spirit and my flesh, like always warring, wanting to do the right thing as a teenager. Like
Mm-hmm.
literally 16, 17, that's when I willingly started doing what I wanted. I was sneaking on it because my dad didn't know I was in a choir since I was 5 up until I was in
Mm-hmm.
my 20s. But I felt like it was always a war with me, even young adulthood. my heart always been with God, and my flesh always been at a war from that very first touch. That's just like someone who they smoked crack for the first time, or who ate that delicious whatever for the first time. Like, you still, I guess that craving is still there, or you still have that, aroma in your mind.
So my question is now, we started off that the actual assault or the abuse happened at 5, and we are talking about your teenage years, right? And this is something that a lot of people is like, okay, that happened, that's the past, you should be over it, right? No, there are some people who may not and this is why you're here, so we can teach and educate. So why were you still experiencing the impact of something that happened to you at 5 years old? Why wasn't it something you just could push away and push outside of your mind and move on with your life? Because you're a teenager at this point. That was when you were 5. Some people would ask that.
Oh yeah, and I would smile and I would say the body keeps the score. So you could say, hey, you were 5 years old when that happened, and you're 60 now. But if your body never rationalized and your mind rationalized with the actual trauma, it will haunt you. Your body will actually go get educated so that I'll know what I'm talking about. When people ask me that question, I went to the University of Baltimore Criminal Justice Department, and I was able to
Uh-oh. Wait, Lakeisha.
yeah. So when I
Wait, Lakeisha, your camera went off. You might have to try changing location. I don't know if you can hear me. Let me see. So I'm gonna wait and see if she comes back in, guys. Let me check in on you guys and see how everyone is doing while we try to get Lakeisha back on the line. I know I saw my ad roll up in here. She said, "Peace, sis. Peace to Lakeisha. Peace to the chat." I know I saw Ashan. It's always a pleasure to have you here. Peace, Ashan. I saw Mr. DeWitt. He said, "Peace to the panel. Glad to have you here, sir, as usual. Much respect." Who else? I see Lakeisha is back. Let me see if she can hear me.
look over there.
Oh, there we go. Can you hear me?
Yes, I don't know what happened.
Okay, I'm sorry. You just been going in and out, so I was like, I wonder if maybe you change location, if that might help.
No, because I
Okay,
have the
go ahead.
room. Okay, so
Go ahead.
I was certified in trauma so that I could understand what was going on with me, so that when people ask the question, well, you were raped at 5, or if anyone, you were raped at 14 and now you're 60, why does it still affect you? Trauma is trapped in a body, as my professor said, like bad gas. If it doesn't have anywhere to go, it can hurt you. And people dress up trauma, people do a lot of things that make trauma look good, or feel good, but it's not. So I was saying to you, the body keeps the score. So I think it's very insulting when people come to me and say, Lakeisha, my cousin said I need to get over it, or my aunt said I need to get over it. I'm coming, to get educated about my sexual abuse. Like, it happened so long ago. It's offensive to me because they're actually wounding that person because they don't understand it. And people assassinate what they don't understand, and people fail to get educated. They will be quick to, throw judgment, never pick up a book, never go read up on it, never see the effects of childhood sexual abuse, but they can run it down and tell you why you shouldn't, but they never research what happened to you to even step in a ring with you, to even box on that level. So a lot of times people actually re-injure their family members, send them off to do drugs, all types of stuff, alcoholics. They confided in them. And they went to them and said, "This is hurting me." And they're like, "Oh my goodness, that was 20 years ago. Child, get over it. You probably killed the person if they ain't strong enough." You gotta watch what you say.
It's so funny. I'm so glad that you brought that up because last week I went over like different type of like toxic. I don't want to say toxic, but like we were talking about mothers and we went over five mothers, and one of them was the dismissive parent, and that's the parent who you come and you share that with, and it's like, girl, that happened when, like, get out of here with that. So when you just said that, that is in our community, it's because we come from a people of we keep it moving no matter what happens, right? And it is and to our own detriment oftentimes, right? Because we have people who are successful in their own right, but they're very injured individuals. So they have all the accolades and the accomplishments and everything, but they are still like really damaged people because we are in a culture, black culture is one of move on, keep it chugging. This is what we do. We don't stop and breathe. We don't stop and deal with stuff. We just keep going, right? Despite our hurt, despite our pain. So that's the culture a lot of us exist in, and that's why I asked that particular question because it's this mindset of why are you still dwelling on that? Move on, right? So I'm glad that you said that with the body. I never heard it in that way. That trauma is like bad gas. If it has no, if it gets stuck in the body, right, and it causes pain if it has nowhere to be released, so that's a I'll always remember that it's like bad gas. So you went over a few. When did your healing process, would you say, started? Like, what got you on the path towards healing? What was the catalyst?
I hate to laugh at this, but just what I said, anger. What my old team lead years ago, before my daughter was born, over 15 years ago, he kept poking, poking, poking. And I was gonna get him, I was gonna get him good to say that. And that was the beginning of my healing. When I realized I could get that angry, well, I got angry like that before. But to be that angry at work and be able to not care what could happen and just be so calm about the decision I was about to make, I knew I needed to go get some help immediately. And that was the beginning of my healing. I started going to Ephesians Christian Life Ministries, my very first therapist ever to address my sexual abuse issues. And the therapist, I told her that, what happened to me. And I told her over the years, I've been molested by people. That was rape. Molestation and rape is two different things. Rape is penetration. Molestation is touching. So I was, trying to get to an equal medium with myself because I had really went to a level that I never thought I would go to. So I was I want to say I was like 26 when I went to therapy for the first time, and I'm 43 now, and I've gone throughout my life, and I have therapists that walk close with me now. Some of them so close they can't even be my therapist because now they've taken me as their sister. You know what I'm saying? Like family. Like I can't be your therapist. There was a conflict of interest. so and then I have a lot of therapists a part of my movement. So I have biblical therapists, psychologists. So I'm still a work in progress, but I'm definitely not who I used to be.
So I was saying that you kind of went out a little bit. You kind of froze a little bit, so you went out. So you said 26 years old, right? So from the first time that you were violated, which is 5, you're talking about 21 years later. Just about 21 years later. Wow. So have you always known what your anger was connected to? Like if someone was to say, Lakeisha, why are you so angry? Were you able to articulate, You weren't. You just knew. You just felt it in your body.
And I didn't walk around angry though. That's the scary part. Like it was on the inside. It was on the inside. It was almost like I wish somebody would. I'm waiting for somebody. Like, ooh. But on the outside, it's like, hi, how are you? Like, but on the inside, it's like, and mainly towards men though, like break my heart if you want to. I feel so sorry for you. Like
wow.
Like
Did you ever deal with self-blame? Did you ever like blame yourself for what happened? Like, I could have done this different.
I wish I would.
Okay.
I wish I would. Even when I talk to people that come to my movement that was date rape. Well, Keisha, I shouldn't have never went to their apartment. Let me tell you something. Even Dick Gregory said, if a woman is walking down the street naked, it does not give a man a right to touch her. So I don't care. People need to keep their fingers and their toes to themselves. If a woman say no, she say no. So it hurts me again. I feel disrespected when people blame themselves when they did not tell the person come and take from me. The person said, I'm going to take from you. And you blame yourself. Oh no. See, I be working on reversing that out of people's brain. That's not good.
Do you know of and do you know of people who maybe they come from families that turned against them for actually putting like exposing the secret? Do you see that a lot?
Oh my goodness. Over the years, yes. I've even had to like be in the middle of some family controversy, you know what I mean? That I had nothing to do with, but I had to come and defend. Because family, like I said before, people assassinate what they don't understand, and or if it happens to them, they don't want to deal with it. Because if you talk about it, you're going to dig up their demons, and they don't want to deal with that. So I have, and also it may be someone that's really respected. I can't believe you'll say that about them. Yeah, I don't care if it was whoever. Just like when R. Kelly came out, when everybody else, so what? Who cares who their name is? Okay? Because women rape people too. So if it was a woman, a man, I don't care who it is. They took their private parts, their hands, their fingers, I don't, they mouth, they did something they wasn't supposed to do unwarranted. I don't care. So people who defend that, and that's sick. There's a lot of people because they didn't get to live their life because other people held them hostage and made them feel bad about something that they was just trying to get off their chest. They was hurt. They just wanted to tell their family, and the family turned on them, and then they done went out in the street in the woods and ate them alive until they no more. How rude.
Yeah, that's a really good point, because one of the things that when we used to have trainings on human trafficking, one of the things that they used to talk a lot about were when you have a lot of dysfunction in the home, and a child is out there, that makes that child vulnerable. So if you're in a family where they are not trying to hear your truth because they are not ready to deal with it, it can push that child out, which then that child becomes, a target, right, for even more predators. You see that a lot. Like they talk about like how much a high percentage of people in prison have been violated, have been molested, have also been in the foster care system, right, because of trauma. So it's such a cruel cycle where a child comes to you. So I want to get into that, right? I want to get into that because I know at some point you said your dad told you that CPS called him. So if a child comes to a parent, right, what is it and says, this person touched me, no matter who it is, a boyfriend, an uncle, what would be the number one thing that you would tell that parent to do? Like the first thing that you want them to be aware of?
Well, the first thing, if a child comes to them and says, someone touched me and did this, you thank that child for being brave enough to come and tell you. You let them know that you care.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Lakeisha is having some Wi-Fi issues today of all days, and this is such a good conversation. Okay, so guys, while I'm waiting for Lakeisha to come back, I'm gonna check in with you guys. She'll be back. I know I saw. Oh, there she is. I don't know what's going on today.
It's
But we're gonna
okay.
get through this. We're gonna get through this. Okay. So go ahead. You were saying that what you would tell a parent whose child
Oh,
came to
so
them
when
and
the
told.
child comes,
Mhm. Go
yeah,
ahead.
when a child comes to you, you want to create a safe space. So
Mhm.
you want to be able to tell the child, thank you for being brave enough to tell me. Like, thank you. You want to embrace them with love. You do not want to show any facial expressions like, what? Hmm, I don't believe it. Like, body language is everything.
Mhm.
So the first thing you want to do as a parent is embrace them with love. Thank you for telling me. Let them know now they are safe and that you're going to handle it. The worst thing you could do is shun them, make them think that it's not true. You start scrolling on your phone, all that. You lost them after that. You have to embrace that child, and then of course find out what happened. But you let them know. Thanks for telling me. I'm gonna protect you now, and I got you covered, baby. Thank you. And you
Mhm.
handle it, and you find out what happened. And then if the person lying, stuttering, call the police immediately. For me, that's gonna be the best thing for me to do. Is just go ahead and call the police so they could go ahead on.
Mm. One of the things that I was talking to someone about abuse victims, there are a lot of people who have their perpetrator is still alive, right? Could have been a grandfather, a aunt, their mothers, their fathers, like they're still alive. And these people are stuck. And it's almost like a lot of, like, I know people who didn't come forward until those people passed on because
Hmm.
it seemed like it was safer to do so, right? But even
Hmm.
doing so, I just had this conversation with someone. So on one end, they're like, I'm afraid to talk about it because, the family is not ready, right? Or I'm going to be maybe cast out, right? Or, um, I don't know. What is the word I'm looking for? I'm getting brain fog today, but I'm going to be cast out of my ostracized. I'm going to be ostracized from my family. Then, when the person dies, if they try to bring it up, the family then says, you shouldn't speak ill of the dead. So that person can't win either way. Okay. So, for yourself, I know you started on your healing journey at 26. There might be someone listening who's way past that age, and I'm sure you encounter people who haven't even started theirs yet and maybe much older than 26 years old. Okay. But they are afraid. They are afraid for whatever reason. What do you say to those people? Maybe they're in their 40s,
That
maybe
is,
they're in their 50s. What do you say?
oh my goodness. You're not going to believe this because I wrote about that in chapter 2 of my autobiography, Your Deliverance is Coming. I had a
Mm,
co-worker to come and sit with me, and I was working on my autobiography. It wasn't even, published yet. And I told her one of the chapters was, getting past of rape. And she told me she was raped by her uncle and his son, and she never told her mom, and they still go to Christmas and Thanksgiving dinner and stuff. And she has grandkids. This young lady that I wrote about. So she's much older. I told her I need her to write her uncle and her cousin a letter. If you don't want your mother to know, because you protecting her so much, you just like, I can't, because my mother, it would just mess her up. At this point, if you feel so deeply about that part, you hold them responsible for what they have done. and you write them a letter. And I've told everybody that has come to me with this same thing, because I have tons of people with the same scenario. You write them a letter and you let them know that you remember what they did to you, and you let them know how it made you feel, and you let them know how it affects you, but let them know that you still standing. But don't let them sit around and act like it didn't happen, because you put that pain back on them so you could keep living. That's what you do. That's what you do.
Okay. Lakeisha, can you hear me? Because you froze up a
Mm-hmm.
little bit. You hear me? Okay. So because now that you just say that, my question then is, can someone begin their healing journey without having to tell people? Like tell, let's say their mother may not know, right? But it happened on her watch, or she was the caretaker. Can someone begin their healing journey without having to write letters to these perpetrators or to parents? Is that possible, or is
Yeah,
that a part of
absolutely.
the healing? Okay.
It's levels to it. So however far you want to go with your
Mhm.
healing, you see what I'm saying? So it's imperative to get it off your chest, out of your body. But if you feel like I just don't want to tell the people and I don't want to talk to the caretaker, then go to therapy.
Mhm.
That's, you're gonna have a certain level of healing. It's not gonna be the maximum, but it'll be at least a level of healing that you did not have before. But I do think even in therapy, they'll tell you to write a letter to your perpetrator. You could burn it up. Perpetrator could be
Mhm.
dead.
Got
You
you.
could write a letter and burn it up if you want, but get it off you. How you feel, how they made you feel. I did that before. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Just, moments in life like, wow. And I felt better. So, yes, to answer your question, you don't have to tell anyone. If it's even someone watching, it's like, I hear you, Lakeisha, but I still don't want to tell. Then go to therapy, baby. For real. Because don't think you so strong and you made it all this long time and you good. No, you're not. You just maybe a workaholic. Maybe you know what I'm saying? Do things
Mhm.
to keep yourself from it, but the body keeps the score.
Mm. So I'm gonna ask you this. You can answer it however you want. Why do you think the rate of sexual abuse is so high in the Black community? Why do you think that is?
Oh, I think that's the best question anybody has ever asked me on any sexual abuse platform that I've been on. Dang, that's deep. I honestly feel like in the African American community, sex is used as a healing tool. To some, it's a stress reliever, and you even hear people joke and say, "Oh, she got her some. She in a good mood now," or he, you know what I'm saying? He this or that. Like, I honestly think sex is used as a healing tool that is turned abusive. Like anything that's supposed to be good can be abused. Sex can be abused. Marijuana is for healing. It could be abused. You know what I'm saying? Just pain medicine can be abused. The intent of things that are supposed to be good are abused.
That's a good point. That's a good point. So talk to me about in your work, do you deal with any men? Because I think that a lot of times when we talk about sexual abuse, the woman, and I get it because the stats for women are low higher, and I think it's higher because a lot of the male sexual abuse goes unreported. That's my humble opinion, okay? Because we have a community where older women violating younger boys is almost celebrated depending on the age of the child, right? So a 12-year-old, a 25-year-old violating, not having sex with, violating a 12-year-old in the community is seen as, oh, you're a man now for some people. So I think that a lot of boys don't even realize that they were actually violated, to be honest, right? Because the people around them actually made it seem as if something good. So in your line of work, are you seeing a lot of men coming forward and talking about their sexual abuse?
Yes, I actually have two men that work closely. Hold on one second, y'all. I'm sorry. Hello. Okay, I'm sorry. I have two men that are in the movement that were raped by women, and they do battle with that. One of them, both of them are cutters, and they're grown and they have women, but because of the traumatic experience, to them it's not cool. It wasn't cool for them to be raped by a female. They literally cut themselves, and that's sad because it's damaging. And I have men who've been raped by men who are hypersexual that have like 7 or 8 kids' mothers because they're trying to prove that they are not gay. So it affects people in so many ways. And then let's not even get into the LBGT community, because even though it's controversial with a lot of things, I winded up on a plantation where they was having an AIDS festival, and there was so many men there, and I was talking to them. Half of them was raped before, and feel like it contributed, not all, but the handfuls that I spoke to said it contributed to their desire for the same sex.
I've actually heard those stats as well, from people who do the type of work that you do as well, as in reference to the LGBTQ community. And even though it's not all, it's a very high percentage of them who have experienced sexual abuse. And some of them are very clear on, I chose this path because this happened to me. And then you have others who it's like, no, that didn't happen to me. I just, this is the path that this is the lifestyle that I've chosen to, live. Or since I was young, I've always felt this way. Is it possible for people to, because you talk about the body keeping score, the body holding memory, and I love that book, by the way, The Body Keeps the Score. Is it possible for people to have experienced abuse and they just can't remember it because maybe they were so young? And if
Yeah.
that's so, how do they get to the bottom of what it is? Like, what sort of treatment is there for them to get to the root of that if they can't even remember it?
That's deep, and I've had someone say to me, I know something happened, I can't remember, but it's a trigger when they go a certain place or they smell something. It's like, something happened, I just can't remember. So for me, with that, if the brain blocked it out, let it stay blocked. You see, it could be a blessing in disguise. Because if you don't know what you don't know. But once you know, you know. But if you don't, think about it. If I fell out of a window when I was 3, I never knew that. I don't know it. But you know what I'm saying? I never knew it. But now I know, and now I'm starting to feel like, okay, well, maybe this is why or I got headaches or whatever. Now I'm gonna drive myself insane trying to figure out what in the world is it that is causing this. I think this contributed to. See, now you're gonna start playing ping pong in your brain. For me, I don't think that. It's two ways I look at it. I don't think that you should try to go get hypnotized and bring it back and try to figure out, because it may have been lost for your safety. It could have been lost for a reason. But if your body is trying to tell you something, like you gotta resolve this. Like we gotta find out, like a movie when you go and gotta find the secret key to unlock a treasure. Now, if that's what's going on, then by all means, investigate, do some research, figure out what's going on. Who was you left alone with? Did you ever have any instances? What the family talking about? I mean, by all means, but it's two sides to how you can handle that.
I am going to go ahead and assume that a big part of why a lot of people don't disclose their sexual abuse is because of shame. Can you talk to us a little bit about shame and how that works and how it prevents us from healing? Because I'm sure you may have experienced it as well. If you could speak to that.
Um, so no, I haven't
Okay.
experienced shame at all. I I feel that people feel ashamed because they feel like it's their fault. They feel like
Okay.
it was something that they did, or
Mhm.
even a child feel like I shouldn't have sat on my uncle's lap. You know what I mean? So that shame is powerful. It's wrong. It's
Mhm.
condemnation. You're condemning yourself for something that you didn't sign up for. You didn't go put your name on a sign-in sheet and say, "Do this to me." You see? So I don't think people should take responsibility for something other people do. Like I just won't. Even anything anybody do, I don't care. You did it. Don't make me feel shameful about it because you made the decision to do that to me. Sorry.
Mhm.
I'm not sorry.
Hmm. Okay, so that the shame is connected back to the self blame that you spoke of earlier, which you you say it triggers, like, not triggers you, but it frustrates you when victims blame themselves. Um. Okay, so what I wanted to talk to you about is the work that you are doing. So talk to me a little bit about your organization. Um, tell us a little bit about your organization, the type of work you do, some of the results of the work that you do. Get into it. I think, is it Stop Stealing Our Souls?
Yes.
Okay.
www.stopstealingourSouls. The work I do, so I do Zooms on sexual abuse. We talk about different topics. We engage, in healing, forgiveness, like little ceremony, shall I say. Um, oh my goodness, I have therapists on my page. If you go to my site, my partners, I have therapists, I have clergy members who are part of the movement who will pray. I even have my Muslim sister. For those who are Muslims, I have her, Halima Muhammad, who is Elijah Muhammad's granddaughter. Never experienced it, but have had family that has. So she she gives encouragement and words of hope. I have the actually who is now the state attorney for Annapolis, but he was a part of the sex trafficking task force for PG, which we educate people, the youth, on sex trafficking and what to look out for. Um, and I give definitely like counseling. I get suicide calls. I get all types of calls, and I always say, like, I'm a hotline, and I don't mind because I'm here to help. Like, I just feel like had that not happened to me, I wouldn't have the passion or the intestinal help others or had a compassion, because no one out here really is diving into this like I am. Like, I'm totally diving. My workshops aren't just your typical workshops. I even bought a brain, and like a fake brain, and we go over the four quads of the brain and which part of the brain was affected by your sexual abuse or trauma. You understand? Like, we dive deep, so it's free. People come
Wait, wait, Lakeisha, we can't hear you. You're going in and out. Oh.
I take some of the victims or survivors to the smash room. They go and smash.
Wait, Lakeisha, can you hear me? Lakeisha, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Wait, you're going in and out. We can't really hear you. Okay, there you are. Go ahead.
Okay.
Okay.
So yeah, the therapy I make sure they get, and also
Guys, it's Lakeisha is bear with us because we've been having some technical difficulties from much earlier. So let me check in with you guys and see what you guys are saying. Hey sis, I don't know what's going on, but it's okay. But go ahead and tell us what else you guys do with your organization. Can you hear me?
oh yeah.
Go
So
ahead.
some of the survivors, I take them to the smash room to go and get things off their chest. I have ability to take more time. I slave plantations to
Okay.
give history, of the behavior. So we do therapeutic things as well as psychological therapy.
Okay. Do you guys do you guys start working with people at a certain age, or it doesn't matter the age of it starts from what? Teenagers or even younger into adulthood?
I don't care if it was a 2-year-old, and that's sad, but it happens to 100. It doesn't matter because elderly people get raped in the nursing homes.
Mm-hmm. Oh wow. Wow. Okay. Oh my. Okay. Have you met like older people who because this is dear to my heart when I see people from a totally different generation. You know that generation that you just threw stuff under the rug. You covered everything. You didn't say anything. People maybe in their 70s, 60s. Are you seeing people, our elders who are now just now facing abuse that maybe they dealt with in their childhood?
Yes, indeed. I had a round table discussion before COVID. So it was about 20 of us around the table. And this woman in her 60s said she never told anyone but us at the table. And it broke my heart because it affects her. She gets nervous when people walk close to her. She doesn't have a normal life because she kept all that trauma in. So she's one of my tough cases. She definitely one of my tough cases because it's been sitting so long. So long. It's so much to unpack over the years that she's accumulated. You know what I'm saying? Like unpacking a house that you done, filled up with so much stuff.
Yeah, I'm glad that you guys are doing this work too, Lakeisha, because I think that the Black community, like particularly, we are now coming into the space of understanding that there's no such thing as just getting over it. That you don't just move on from not just sexual abuse, but any type of abuse. We are just now getting, opening up to the idea of this. You don't just move on. Trauma has to actually be hashed through, it has to be faced, it has to be dealt with, right? And so this is why this work is so important because we still have a long way to go because there's still a lot of people in our community who feels, man, if you don't get that out of here, that was so long ago. If you don't just get over that, or you just want to create problems in the family, or you're looking for attention, or you're just trying to be a victim, and not really understanding like how can you speak to how people can actually feel stuck if they don't deal with the effects of the abuse, like if they don't deal with their sexual abuse or the trauma, how that can actually make them feel like they're stuck in life. Can you speak to that?
It's like quicksand. It's real simple. You go nowhere real fast. Like you're stuck in your mind. You're stuck in your emotions. You can't even decipher reality from make believe.
Mm. Mm.
You see, because you're so stuck, you operating on airplane mode. Like you're driving, you're working, you're eating, you're probably cooking for your kids, but you're not there. You're not there. So a lot of times people who
Okay.
are stuck, sometimes they want to feel alive. So sometimes they do go give prescription medication to help them deal with not being stuck, or they do other things to help with not being stuck, or they engage in sex to not feel stuck. And I know that sounds cryptic, but no, they do. So people try to find out of that icky feeling, like I don't know what's going on with me type feeling.
Wow.
Um,
You said something very important. Promiscuity. Let me just use that word here, okay? Because I have heard people say, I don't believe that they were raped, right? Because if you were raped, why would you be having sex with just every Tom, Dick, and Harry? That's something that people believe. Like they literally feel because someone was raped that they would not want to have sex anymore. But you're saying that's not necessarily true, right?
right, right. So what can happen is you could become a hypersexual person, or you could run from it. And like I said, the impulse is levels to lust, is levels to it. R. Kelly's a good example. You
Mm-hmm.
understand? Like
Mm-hmm.
his sister raped him. He
Mm-hmm.
could have ran from that, but he embraced it. And a lot of things that he had the girls doing, his sister detailedly told him to do those things to her.
Mm-hmm.
So even for me, I did not run. I did not run. I I went towards it, but I wasn't what you would call promiscuous, just running with anyone. It was almost, I used to give the analogy, just I don't believe in vampires. This is just from watching movies.
Okay.
I was I would say that once I sunk my teeth into someone, like
Mm-hmm.
to transfer souls with them, that now we on this roller coaster ride. Even if they cheat on me or whatever, it's like we on this ride and they can't even get off until the ride is complete. You see, so that's how it would be with me, and it could be crazy dysfunctional, and they would even feel like they losing their mind, like I can't get rid of you. I want to, but I can't. Like it's very cryptic how it could be, but for me personally, it affected me in that way. So I will always be intimate with that person, like spontaneous type behavior, like certain things, but ladies' night type talk.
Yeah, yeah. And you brought up R. Kelly. And I'm glad you brought that up because whenever R. Kelly is discussed, R. Kelly is always discussed as the perpetrator and not the victim, right? Like two things can be true, right? Victims can actually then later on in life become perpetrators. But when people talk about R. Kelly, no one talks about the fact that he was victimized, right? No one talks about the factors that maybe led up to him becoming who he became, right? And I think a lot of it has to do with his gender. That's my opinion, right? I think a lot of it has to do with his gender. I think that when we talk about sexual abuse, the gender that comes to mind is often girls. I think that our boys, the sexual abuse of our boys is often pushed aside, dismissed, excused. And then another person that comes to mind is DMX. And when people discuss DMX, they talk about his drug abuse and so forth. No one really talks about his mother physically abusing him, knocking his teeth out his mouth, like those type of things. Um, so I just wanted to touch on that because you brought up R. Kelly twice. But since we're talking about the men, can you tell me how sexual abuse may have impacted how you did relationships, intimate relationships, or in general, how does sexual abuse affect how we do relationships with the opposite sex?
Um, mm, um, um, when you
Oh, wait, I can't hear you. You sound like a robot. Again, I'm not sure.
hear me?
Not really. Speak
Can you hear
again.
me?
Yes, I can. Oh, bye. Woo! Listen, guys. Somebody don't want this conversation to happen today, but it's gonna happen. She's back. Let me
Okay, can you hear
see.
me? Can you hear me?
Okay. Yes. Yes. Go ahead. You can answer the question.
So in relationships, it made me kind of okay, good and bad. The good side of it is that I'm not insecure. Like I don't check for men, look for them. You know, if we go out, I'm checking to see if they looking at a woman and stuff like that. Like, I'm so confident in my inner being, like who I am to the person. So, and that's a part of the sexual abuse too. Is that I feel like I have a hold on them to the point I don't have to look for them, check for them, do these things. So that is one part of
Oh.
how it affects my relationships.
Mhm.
But on the flip side, the bad side is that I felt I felt that I couldn't trust when I was raped. So now when I share my soul with a man and he's not loyal, honest, and true. And I mean, just be honest. Like I'm a real big girl, like more than people know. But if you're not honest and true, it causes so much friction for me with them because I know men don't like a lot of, yakety yak and yelling and fussing. So I play chess with them. I play chess with their mind, and that's the bad part because now we making chess moves and it could actually get dangerous. You know what I mean? It could actually
Mhm.
get dangerous. So that for me in relationships is not good. You know what I mean? I don't hoop and holler and check phones, none of that. I move in a different way that, penetrates them in different ways. So, and that's all because I was hurt. So I'm like, I want you to feel what I felt. Like, you want to play with me, you know what I mean? You want to hurt me, but I'm I don't put myself in that situation. I just got divorced, so I don't have to do that anymore. I'm divorced now, so
Do you find that young girls I don't know what this looks like in young boys, and maybe you could speak to this, but in young girls I often hear like insecurity is one of the effects of a sexually abused victim. um what does the is it do you think insecurity also shows up in boys who are victims of sexual abuse? Because I'm not sure what that
absolutely.
looks like. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely
Okay.
it does. And it shows up in other ways. It
Okay.
shows up in ways of being overconfident. You know what I mean?
Oh.
Just showing up being something they really aren't, just so that their
Mm.
weaknesses don't show. So a lot of times I have to be careful when I'm around a lot of insecure men who act like they are secure because I see through them. So I still have to be cool. I gotta play it cool, but I see the insecurity and I see why they moving like that. With my third eye, I see why they doing that. So men do have insecurities.
So it sounds like a lot of overcompensating in when it comes to the men, maybe acting a little bit more macho than they really need to, like, beating their chest kind of. Okay, so Yeah, I could see that. I just asked because I feel like we know all the symptoms when it comes to the girls, but I think that with the boy, and I think with men, who were sexually abused, being over hypersexual as well is one of the symptoms. Like just being hypersexual, like especially the men who were violated by other men, right? It's like at least people that I've talked to, it's like trying to prove your manhood. So you're trying to sleep with whatever girl you can get your hands on, right? Because you try and prove to yourself that I'm not gay, I'm not, because your perpetrator was a man. I mean, I don't know if I'm right or wrong on that. You can correct me if
Yeah,
I'm wrong. Mhm.
you're right. I said that earlier. So you
Yeah.
right. You're right.
Okay. Okay. So, Lakeisha, I know I'm not going to hold you much longer, but I want you to tell the people where we can. I want to wrap up. But before you tell them where you can be found and about your book, because I know you have a book as well.
Yes. So please follow me on Instagram, Lakeisha Davis Small, all one word. It's Lakeisha Davis now, but it's Lakeisha Davis Small, and also it's the same on Facebook. And my book can be found on Amazon.com. And I promise anyone who reads it, it will change their life. It will make you think about a lot of things. And I met Beyonce's dad, and I was able to give him a copy, and he was just
Oh,
like, he was like, I love your spirit, your energy, and he was just like, keep going. I'm gonna see you at the top. And I said, oh. Well, I will see you there. So I was blessed to be able to put it in Boris Kojo's hand, Ayana Van Zan's hand, to Raji. Like, no, I sent it to her PO box, and then I put it in her manager's hand. So she too. But I I just feel like it's a sign. I feel like it's
okay.
remarkable. Um, I feel like it's remarkable because I can't even believe that I was able to overcome a lot. Rape was just one facet.
Mhm.
I've experienced a lot. Definitely betrayal. How you bounce back
Mhm.
from that is something serious, It really affects you in a different way. Whether it's
Mhm.
family, friends, co-worker, your own children. It don't matter who betrayed you. That joker, that right there, that's a hurtful one. So I just thank God that I'm still standing and I still laugh and smile through adversity, to this day. And I just won't stop.
Uh-oh. Can you hear me?
I can.
What? You went off again, Lakeisha. Can you hear me? Hello? Can you hear me? Oh, you went off again. Yeah, no, you're freezing up again. Oh, wait, you're freezing up
I'm
again,
finished.
Mama.
Oh, I'm
Can you hear
finished.
me now?
I can hear
Lakeisha, we
you.
can't hear you.
You
Uh-oh.
can't?
Okay, I can hear
Oh,
you now.
okay. I said I was finished. I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm sorry. What I wanted to know is because I'm gonna have to bring you back again. I'm gonna have to bring you back again. But one of the last things I want you to say, speak to in closing, what can we do better as a community, right, to help protect our children? What are some of the things that we could do a better job at as a community, as a collective, to better protect our children?
Put your phones down first.
Hmm.
Get off the phone. Get off the phone first. And that's for me. Sometimes I have to go put my phone in another room so I could give my kids the full attention they need. Second, create a safe space. They need to be able to know that they have somebody to go to they trust. It's nothing like a child not being able to trust somebody. That's like a child wandering around in the woods lost trying to find their way home.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I say. Put your phones down and get them a safe space. Let's start there.
So putting your phone down has to do with paying attention to your children, right? In real
Period.
time, right?
Period. Just put the phone down.
Okay. Okay. Well, Lakeisha,
It's
I put
hard.
all your say that again.
Talk to your children. Just sit down and check in. Like, how you doing today? What's going on? Like, some children don't feel like, their parents care because they don't ask.
I agree. I agree 100% with that. I agree 100%. A simple check-in to let them know that you care about what's going on in their life. I would also say, to add to what you just said in my closing, is also pay attention for changes in behavior with your child. If your child was a high performance student and all of a sudden they drop down to F's, right? It goes back to your number 3. Talk to them, find out what's going on, like why the sudden change in behaviors. But in order to do so, you have to put your phone down, you have to talk to your children, and you have to create a safe space to do so. So I would say the shift in behavior is a major red flag. In finding out like what's going on, that there's something going on with your child. Your child go from being this type of child to a drastic change out of nowhere, and you're like, if you're not paying attention, you miss it. And if you don't create a safe space, you end up dismissing it as well. Oh, she just thinks she's grown,
Mhm.
she just want to hang out with her friends. She's going through something, but you are not asking, and she or he may not want to talk about it because the space isn't safe to do so. So that's the other thing. And the last thing I want to say too is being careful how we talk about other children in front of our own children. That child in the neighborhood who you keep calling fast, right? Who may have been a victim of sexual abuse, your child is listening to you judge and demean that child. So why would they come and tell you what happened to them? Because they're going to think, well, that's how my mom or my dad, they're going to think about me the same way. So being careful how we talk about victims of rape and abuse and so forth, how we have the conversation in front of our children as well. Those are just my little 2 added to your 3 that you talked about. But Lakeisha, I'm going to bring you back for part 2 because it was a lot of technical difficulties tonight, and I feel that your voice is very important. And so I'm going to do a part 2 to this. So I will be reaching out to you again. I am going on a social media break, so it'll probably be sometime in May.
Okay, cool.
But I'm glad to have you, and thank you for giving me your time. I want to make sure I put your website in the chat. So it's called tell us your website again. StopStealingOurSouls.com.
Yes.
Okay, I put that in the and can they get your book from that website as well?
No, they have to get the book from Amazon.
Tell me the name of your book.
Your Deliverance is Coming.
Okay. Okay, and that's on Amazon, right? Okay.
Mhm.
All right. Okay. That I put all your information in there. Thank you so much again, Lakeisha. I will be bringing you back for part 2. You guys stay tuned for part 2 with Lakeisha. And thanks for giving me your time today.
Thank you for having me.
All right, sis. Peace.
Peace.
All right, guys. So we're gonna have to bring Lakeisha back because we were dealing with a lot of actual technical difficulties tonight, and so I'm gonna have to have her back for part 2. I just want to let you guys know that I will be taking a social media break. I am not quitting YouTube. I will be back. Probably in May. I'll probably take a 30-day social media break. I try to do this every year. And if you can too, maybe you should try, even if it's for 3 days. Just unplug in social media, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, all of it. It just helps you to recenter. It just helps you to recenter, to refocus, to kind of like start paying attention to things that you may not be paying attention to. So I'm looking forward to that. But I will be returning. I'm going to have to make sure that I update. I might check in on YouTube and post some things here and there, but maybe not. It depends on where my mental state is at. But I am looking forward to this. But you guys can always reach out to me. I am going to put my email in the chat. Okay, if you guys need to, actually, my email should be my description, but I'm gonna put it in the chat. If anyone needs to reach out to me, I will be checking emails and so forth. And I'm glad that you guys tuned in today and joined me in this conversation. It's a much needed conversation. Until next time, I am going to have to say peace and see you guys.